Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me and see me? Right?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, we can
Hare
hear.
Krishna. You can't hear? Okay, just a second.
No Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, welcome back. Let me start sharing my screen here. Okay, share. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, very good. Okay. Nitisha, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to sing Hare Krishna Mahamantra today?
Okay, I'll try.
Okay, sure.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare. Thank you so much, Nishar. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, it was very nice.
Thank
And
you.
thank you. Please raise your hand if somebody wants to recite verses today, because we can take turns reciting the verses, and we have lots of verses to recite. So if you want to recite verses, please raise your hand so that I know who is interested. Okay.
I have not practiced them, but I try to sing some.
Sure. Gangotri is always ready. Lasya is always ready. I guess somebody else, Harsh, in fact tried yesterday. Harsh, would you be willing to recite some verses today?
I don't think so, Prabhuji.
Okay, no worries. Okay. Anybody else wants to do that?
Nitisha, me.
Nitisha. Okay, Nitisha. So we have Nitisha,
I'll try to do,
Gangotri, and
Prabhuji.
Lasya. I guess
I
Lasya
will
is
try
not
to
here
do.
yet,
I
right?
will also try.
Who? I'm sorry. Who? Harshit?
Arav.
Kirti.
No,
Kirti
sorry,
wants to
Arav,
try.
Arav.
Okay. So Kirti wants to try. Okay, very
No,
good.
it was Arav.
Arav.
Prabhuji, if I'm able to recite a verse, I'll ask you.
Okay, sure. No worries. Okay. So everybody's welcome to recite some verses today. Okay, that'll be fun. All right. So today we are covering really the most important aspect, in Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti Yoga. Okay, as we have been talking about Bhakti Yoga for a while, and we covered. Does somebody remember when was this concept of Bhakti Yoga first introduced in Bhagavad Gita?
I don't remember the chapter number, Prabhuji, but it was when we studied that ladder of yoga.
Yes, very good. Yes, thank you. Yes, that's the sixth chapter. That's the
Chapter
that's
6.
yeah, sixth chapter, and the last verse of the sixth chapter, in fact, where this Bhakti Yoga was introduced, and then I'm going to show you how this Bhakti Yoga concept has been evolving throughout the Bhagavad Gita, and it finds this pinnacle in this 12th chapter, the zenith in the 12th chapter, zenith in the topmost, So let's me, we'll review some verses today, okay? And I'm going to start with, just a second here. All right. Lasya?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'll chant it.
Okay, can
Karma
you sing it? I know you have done this verse before. Like, you would like to sing this? Let's try singing, okay? I'm gonna give you a different meter, Lasya, okay? And we can try that together, okay? Like this. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmukta padam gacchantanamayam. A different meter, okay? Bhagavad Gita, in fact, verses in Bhagavad Gita, in fact, all of them could be sung. Like, so this meter, in fact, could be used for this verse. But anyway, let's say you want to try again?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, we can do it together, Prabhuji.
No, you try it. No worries. Just try the way you tried. I mean, that's not a problem, okay? I tried my way, okay? You can try your way, okay?
Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manisinaha janma bandha vinirmukta padam gacchantanamayam.
Beautiful. Very nice. Thank you so much. Yes, that was wonderful. Okay, meaning, please.
By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the result of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead.
Yeah. What does mean going back to Godhead? Like we discussed this subject matter a while back. Can somebody raise hand and explain what going back to Godhead means? Anybody? Gangotri?
It means going near Krishna, going to Vaikuntha.
Going to Vaikuntha, like, does going back means that we came from Vaikuntha? Raise your hand if you know the answer for this question. Yes. Lasya?
I think we have come from the spiritual world to enjoy this material world. I think.
We covered this topic. I guess we didn't go into a lot of detail, but I did mention a few times that no, nobody ever comes back from Vaikuntha, from the spiritual world, right? Lord Krishna himself says that in Bhagavad Gita, right? At many places he says that, like, that once somebody goes to the Vaikuntha, never comes back here. So in actuality, like, we didn't come from Vaikuntha, like, So going back to Godhead here actually means realizing our, like, our relationship with Krishna. That's the actual meaning of going back to Godhead. Like, it doesn't mean that we came from a spiritual world and we're going back there. Like, so it is a little bit of a technical meaning here rather than taking it literally. Like, you take a meaning basically based upon this concept that nobody ever falls down from Vaikuntha or spiritual world. Somebody wants to try this verse?
It's not visible, Prabhuji.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just a second. Let me see what happened here. Is it visible now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, okay, I guess, okay. Who wants to do it? Just raise your hand, just start doing it. Like, I don't have to ask, like, because we have lots of slides to cover. So somebody can recite this verse. Tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Question for you: why is it necessary to have a teacher or a spiritual master? Anybody? Gangotri?
So that we know the right way of showing our devotion towards God, expressing our devotion.
Yes. Thank you. Arav?
So that we can learn the right way and learn from even their experiences.
Very good. Very well said. Now, as we know, in even in our material life, like, we go to school, we go to college, like, learn, right? Otherwise, if it was easy, so easy, we could have bought books from stores and we could have gotten the knowledge, right? But we still decide to go to school and college because we want to learn from people and our teachers. They teach us through their example, through their experiences, like, so what to say spiritual knowledge, which is in fact, who can tell me that in which chapter Lord Krishna says that this is the king of education and it's the most secret of all the knowledge?
In the 9th chapter, Prabhuji.
Very good. Thank you very much. Yes, in 9th chapter. So especially the spiritual knowledge, which is in fact could be mystery for a lot of people. Even in 2nd chapter, Lord Krishna says that this knowledge of soul is mysterious. Like, a lot of people, even though we may have theoretical understanding that we are not this body, but it is very difficult to realize that we are spirit souls. Like, so to understand this concept, we have to ask a spiritual master, somebody who is already practicing sincerely, and then that person can show us the way, Okay, anybody wants to try this verse? Lasya?
Yes, Prabhuji. Should I sing it?
Yeah, any way you want, that is perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Yoginamapi sarvesham madgatenantaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yuktatamo mataha. And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
Thank you very much. Looks like Gangotri wants to try the next verse, right? So this is the verse, in fact, we have this Bhakti Yoga has been introduced by Lord Krishna. And this is, in fact, in the ladder of yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga. Gangotri, you want to try this verse?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
The same one?
Yeah, 728.
No, actually we can see 6.47.
Oh, you want to try 6.47?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
योगिनामपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां सा मे युक्ततमो मतः. The meaning as well, Prabhuji.
Sure, go ahead, yeah.
And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
Very good, thank you. Nitisha, you want to try this verse? 728.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yoginamapi
I'm
sarvesam.
sorry, this verse you're seeing on the screen right now. Are you
Yes,
seeing this?
yeah.
Yeah, 728.
No, we can see
We
6.
can say 6.47.
You can't see my screen at all, 7.28.
no, Prabhuji.
No.
We can see 6.47.
Oh, that's weird though. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, let me just a second, please. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
728.
Yes, Prabhuji, now it's
Okay,
visible.
very good. Okay, please go ahead. 728, Nitisha.
Yesam teva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dhridha vrata.
Dridhavrata.
Can I also try?
Dirvata. Meaning, please?
Okay.
Mhm.
Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with a determination.
So this is the qualification. This verse, in fact, it qualifies the person who is eligible to perform bhakti yoga. So this eligibility is what? Like somebody who has acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and the sinful actions are completely eradicated. 8.14. Gangotri, want to try this verse?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Ananya cheta satatam yo mam smarati nityasha tasya ham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yogina. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service.
Right. So Lord Krishna says that through devotional service we can obtain him very easily. (9.14). Lasya.
Yes, Prabhu. सततं कीर्तयन्तो मां यतन्तश्च दृढव्रताः नमस्यन्तश्च मां भक्त्या नित्ययुक्ता उपासते. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion.
Right. 10.10. Ara.
तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतं प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन माम् उपयान्ति ते. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me.
Very nice. So you're seeing a pattern here, right? Like all of these verses, in fact, they're telling us how we can achieve, Lord Krishna through bhakti yoga. Harshit, Nishita, you want to try this?
I want to try.
Hmm.
Mat karma kramata mat. I'm sorry. Mat karma kran mat
Paramo.
Mad bhaktah sangha varjita nirvaira sarva bhuteshu ya samam iti pandava. I was not good at this, but I just raised my hand for the previous.
No, thank you so much. I think you did a good job. Your pronunciation was all right. You want to read the meaning also?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Mhm.
My dear Arjuna, one who is engaged in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of previous activities and from mental speculation, who is friendly to every living entity, certainly comes to me.
Right. A very similar verse will come in the 12th chapter also. So in fact, we will review this concept again. In this, the key concept here is that friendly to every living entity, nirvara sarva bhuteshu. That's the meaning of that. So this is in fact all these verses are talking about bhakti yoga and so beginning of bhakti yoga, as I mentioned before, is that starting to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because in this day and age, Lord Krishna has appeared in the form of his holy name. By chanting his name, we can directly connect with him. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Since in 12th chapter, we'll be covering 3 different topics. And the first topic, in fact, we would not go in much detail because it's a bit confusing and a bit complex. and we'll skip it for the time being, okay? In the second stage, we'll talk about progressive stage of devotion, and there are a couple of verses we'll be covering there. And the last one would be that qualities which is endearing to Krishna. Okay, and in that, one of those qualities, in fact, is that somebody who is friendly to all living entity, which we covered in the last verse we read, 11:55, 11th chapter, 55th verse, where Lord Krishna says, what does he say here? Nirvara sarva bhuteshu, friendly to every living entity. So that is one of the very important qualities for a devotee. Lasta, you want to try this verse?
Yes, Prabhuji. Shri Bhagavan Maya Veshya Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetas Te Me Yukta Tamamatah.
The blessed Lord said, he whose mind is fixed on my personal form, always engaging in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith, is considered by me to be most perfect. This verse is a bit similar to the verse 647, right? Satat Yukta Nam, Nitya Yukta, same meaning actually, Nitya Yukta, Satat Yukta, they have a similar meaning, always engaged, 12.8. Anyone wants to try this verse? Lasta, you want to try again?
Yes, Prabhuji. Maeva manadhatsva mai buddhim niveshaya nivasyasyasi mameva atam urdvam na samshaya. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always, without a doubt.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Now, do you recall a while back we talked about the role of intelligence, right? So intelligence is above the mind, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Right. So intelligence can subdue mind because it is higher than mind, right? So here, Lord Krishna is saying that we should use our intelligence, engaging our intelligence to engage ourselves in devotional service. Okay. Now, can somebody raise hand, explain that what does he mean by you will live in me always? What does he mean by that? Gangotri?
Would it mean that their spirit soul would live with him always from then on?
Live, I'm sorry, repeat that again.
It means that from that time on, the spirit soul of that person will always live with Krishna, or it will always be devoted to Krishna.
Yes, actually, you're right. It means that you're always devoted to Krishna. Live in me. The meaning of that is that you're always devoted to Krishna. It doesn't matter where you live, because once you're connected with Krishna, you have already transcended or gone beyond this material realm. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you're in the physical body or you're in your spiritual body, but once you are connected with Krishna, you're always with him. So that it means that in bhakti yoga, you don't have to give up this body, to be connected with Krishna. Even in this very same body, because as I explained to you earlier, for Krishna, there is no distinction between material and spiritual. That distinction applies only to us, right? So it doesn't. If you utilize our body, mind, intelligence, which in fact all of these are matter, right? As we discussed earlier, that there is a gross matter and subtle matter, right? Our body is made of the 5 elements. Can somebody raise a hand and tell me what are those 5 elements? Ara?
The 5 elements are Jiva, Ishvara, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma.
Oh, wonderful. You remember that. Okay, well, those are the 5 topics which are discussed in Bhagavad Gita. And I'm so glad you remember that. That's awesome. Here we're talking about our body is made of 5 elements, right? 5 different material elements. And I was just asking that what are those material elements our body is made of?
Do you mean Panchabhuta? Like the
Yes, that's right. Panchabhuta, like 5 material elements. Our gross body is made of those 5 elements. Like earth, right? Harsh,
Jal, Vayu, and Dharti, that is the earth. And is Agni also there?
Agni is there, yes.
Yeah, Agni is there, and I can't remember the last.
Akash.
Yes, very good. Akash, right. So we have earth, water, fire, ether. And what am I missing here? Earth, water, fire, ether.
Air.
Yes, air. That's right. Thank you. So these 5 elements. So this gross body is made of these 5 elements. Okay, and then there's a subtle body. And can somebody raise hand and tell us what our subtle body consists of? Lasya?
The subtle body consists of mind, intelligence, and false ego.
Right. Can somebody raise hand now to describe what is false ego? Gangotri?
Could it be our thinking that we are greater than God?
No, false ego, that's not the definition of false ego. Anybody else wants to try? Lasya?
It's like mistaken identity. We are considering ourselves as the body, not the
Yes.
soul.
Very, very, very good. Yes, the mistaken identity that we have taken up this body, and we consider body as like, source of enjoyment, source of suffering. Like, soul by nature does not have any suffering, but since we have accepted this body under the influence of the false ego, so it's called false ego. What is true ego then? Can somebody raise hand and see? Because we are saying false ego, that there has to be something called true ego, right? What is true ego? Lasya?
Considering ourselves as spirit souls.
Exactly right. Yes. True ego basically means to understand who we actually are, right? So that's the true ego. Now, okay, raise your hand if any of you has cooked rice by yourself, like, has somebody cooked rice at home? Harsh has cooked rice. Okay, Lasya also has cooked rice. Amogvarsh, you have cooked rice. Okay, Amogvarsh, question for you. When you cook rice, how do you know that the rice is cooked?
You get the sound, the whistle.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you very well.
Hello, can you
Hello,
hear me
yeah.
now?
Yeah, somewhat we can hear you. Yes, please repeat again whatever you said.
Like you get the whistle from the cooker.
I apologize. I couldn't hear very well. Can somebody repeat what Amogvarsh just said?
You said from the whistle of the pressure cooker or the
Okay.
rice.
Oh, so you cook in pressure cooker. Okay, Gangotri.
You get
Okay,
the
how
sound.
do you know the rice is cooked?
You get the sound.
Actually,
Okay, Arav.
I think with the softness of the rice.
it's when you pinch it, it smashes.
Ah, very good. Yes. Okay. So I guess looks like Gangotri and Amogvarsh, they cook in pressure cooker, right?
When you take
I personally don't cook
Not
rice in pressure cooker.
I mean like a rice cooker.
Rice cooker, yes, rice cooker
And
also,
it
right?
can,
when you touch
No,
it,
bigger in size, Prabhuji.
Right. So, Lasya, do you want to say something? How do you know the rice is cooked?
It's soft and it's bigger in size. After
Right. Okay. So basically, I think all of you, in fact, know how to make rice. So what you do is that you pick up 1 grain of rice, okay, from the pot, and you press it, right? And if that grain is cooked, like it's soft and is cooked, then it means the whole rice is cooked, right? So you just take a small sample, okay, from the pot, just to check that the whole pot is cooked, right? just try to kind of, I'm giving this analogy just to kind of like give you an idea that same thing applies to our spiritual self as well. Okay. That we are also a small sample of Krishna. So we have like somewhat similar qualities than Krishna, God. But the difference is, now what is the difference? Can somebody raise hand now and just to describe the difference between Krishna and us? We have 4 hands raised right now. Let me see. Okay, who hasn't spoken so far?
Sir, I
Yes,
haven't.
yes, please. You want to answer this question? What is the difference between Krishna and us?
Krishna and us. So, what is the main difference? That probably I think that he is perfect and we are not perfect. Like none of the human beings can be perfect in this world.
He's
Only
the
God.
only Purusha.
Yes, very
Yes.
well said. Very well said. Like, perfection. But, as I mentioned earlier, that we have God-like qualities, right? Because we are sample of God, sample of Krishna. So in our perfect stage, like, there is something called perfect stage for a soul as well. So we also can show symptoms of perfection. Of course, anybody else want to share?
I'm sure that we have learned some reasons like the differences between Krishna and us. For
Yeah.
example, his changes or whatever he does is permanent, and whatever we human beings or the living organisms does is temporary.
Okay.
A few points just like that we have learned, I'm sure about.
Okay. Amok Vash, you want to share? Gangotri, you want to share?
What, Prabhuji?
Gangotri, you want to answer this question? What's the main difference between Krishna and us?
It's that he is having both the spiritual and materialistic powers, but we are just the marginal energies. We are not having both of them. We are just constricted to the material body.
Okay. Anybody else wants to try? Lasya?
Yeah, Krishna is transcendental. We are just material, and we are just a part of Krishna.
Yes. Part of Krishna. Okay. Anybody else? Aro?
Krishna has a spiritual body and we have a material body.
Well, we are also spiritual, but right? Spirit, soul. Meaning of soul is spiritual, right?
Body.
Yeah, well, soul has its body too. Like soul. In fact, we also have a spiritual body, but we have taken up this material body in this world. So as such, spirit soul also has spiritual body, just like Krishna. Krishna has spiritual body, but we have taken up a material body, right? And because of the false ego, we have accepted this material body, and we think that we are this material body, but we are not. So, Amok, you want to try? Okay, so a statement I made was,
I didn't notice that I raised.
okay, so a statement I made was earlier that, like, just like you take a sample of 1 grain of rice from a pot, okay, and if that grain is cooked, the whole pot is cooked, right? So we are just like that, like, we are a small particle, small grain, like, and we basically like part and parcel of Krishna, like, so we in fact have similar qualities, like, that as Krishna has, like, we have in our spiritual perfection, like, as a spirit soul, we have same qualities as Krishna, like, more or less. The key difference is something to always remember that, okay? The key difference is a pot of rice and a grain of rice. What is the difference between pot of rice and a grain of rice? Pot of rice has lots of grains, right? It's big, right? The whole pot is big, and grain is just a small particle. Same way, we are small, like, we are little, like, 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair, right? That's the dimension of the soul. That is our real dimension, like, and Krishna, he's unlimited, okay? That is the key difference between Krishna and us. And all of what you people said, all of you in fact are right, like, I think you can differentiate between Krishna and us in many ways, but this is the key difference we have, like, so we have similar qualities than Krishna, except that we have those qualities in small quantity, like in minute quantity. Like as for example, if you okay, it's question for somebody who really loves science here. Okay, if you want to analyze the chemical composition of ocean water, right? Now, how would you do that?
Prabhuji, can you share it again?
Yes.
Great. Can you just repeat your question once?
Question
Mhm,
was,
yeah.
if you want to analyze the chemical composition of ocean water or seawater, what would you do?
I would take a small sample of it.
Very good. You take a small sample of it and you analyze it, and that will reflect basically composition of the whole sea and ocean, right? So we are like that, like we are small samples of Krishna. So just try to remember that, whatever we have, Krishna also has those things, but Krishna has those things in unlimited quantity. We have those things in limited quantity. That is the key difference, okay? So we'll take a little break here, okay? Let me see if I could possibly bring up I want you to watch this beautiful kirtan, So let me see if I could possibly get that here.
Prabhuji, could you answer my question? Oh wait, you told.
Yeah, sure. Please go
tomorrow.
ahead. I will answer your question, and then we can do the kirtan, okay?
Oh wait, you told tomorrow. Tomorrow. Sorry.
No, you can ask now. No worries. Okay, we have plenty of time.
Oh, I asked just like what is life? Why is
Harsh,
life? Yeah,
what's the question?
I asked me yesterday, like at the end of the class, what is life and why is life?
Okay, sure. No worries. Okay, just a second. Okay. All right, so we'll take a little kirtan break here for 5 minutes, and then we'll resume, okay? Hare Krishna, everyone. Can you see the screen again?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so let's start with this. So next 4 verses, in fact, are the key verses of this chapter: 12.8, 12.9, 12.10, and 12.11. These 4 verses, okay? They, in fact, they sort of give us an idea that how we can progress into bhakti, like there are different ways we can progress in bhakti. So 12.8, in fact, is a verse which talks about what actually is, how we can engage in bhakti without any deviation. Like, let's say you want to recite this verse, 12.8.
Yes, Prabhuji. Maeva manadhatsva mai buddhim niveshaya nivashishyasi mayeva ata urdhvam na samshayah. Should I read the translation?
Yes, please.
Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always, without a doubt.
Again, this term comes, live in me always. Okay, very nice, right? So here, in fact, mind and intelligence, both are material, right? Material things. But imagine if we can utilize them, in Krishna's service, then they also get spiritualized. Now, I remember, somebody remembers the example I gave yesterday regarding how I gave an analogy, like, remember of like a rod, iron rod and fire? Do you recall that? Yeah. Can somebody raise hand and try to kind of explain that analogy again? Lasya?
Yes, Prabhuji, you said that when the iron rod is heated in a furnace,
Yeah.
it becomes red hot. So it's just like fire, but it's not fire.
Well, actually, it becomes like fire. Yeah.
Yes.
Because of association with fire, right? It becomes like fire. So
Yes.
have you ever seen a red hot, like an iron rod? Like, it just like fire, like, it is like, it behaves just like fire, right? So in the same way, like, when we are engaging our mind and intelligence, and how do we do that? What's the easiest way to do that in this day and age?
Chanting the holy names.
Exactly. Yeah, chanting the holy name, like, so chanting the holy name of Krishna, like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When you're chanting the holy name of Krishna, especially on a beat, like, all your senses are engaged. Like, your touch is engaged, your hearing is engaged, your eyes are engaged, your mind is engaged, your intelligence is engaged. Imagine, like, all our senses, although they're material, but since we are utilizing them in Lord Krishna's service, they become spiritualized. Okay. Gangotri, you want to try this verse, or somebody else wants to try to recite this verse, 12.9? Lassa, you want to give it a try?
Yes, Prabhuji. Tatha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mayo stiram abhyasa yogena tato mamichaptum dhananjaya.
Meaning, please.
My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, you will develop a desire to attain me.
Right. So the first verse here, 12.8, just a second, 12.8. 12.8 is, it signifies somebody who is already advanced in Bhakti Yoga, right? Somebody whose mind and intelligence are already fixed in Krishna, okay? But this verse here, 12.9, it has staged down, like, so it is little bit down in the ladder, okay? Just a second, okay? So this is a step down in the ladder here. Lord Krishna is saying in this verse that if you cannot engage your mind and intelligence completely, like, in him, then the next step is you can start following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. Can somebody raise hand now and tell us, like, what he means by regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga? Anybody wants to try?
Chanting the names every day.
Exactly. A disciplined chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Okay, that is the beginning.
Offering food.
Offering food, yes, excellent. That's excellent. In fact, offering food should come first, like, because without purifying our diet, it is very difficult for us to focus in our chanting. Okay, because chanting, what do we engage in our chanting? What is the most important sense we engage in chanting? Anybody? There are two senses which are engaged in chanting the holy names of Krishna, right? So what are those two senses?
Speech and listening.
Speech, yeah, tongue, and ears, like listening, right?
Ear,
Hearing,
listening.
right? So these two senses are engaged, when we chant Krishna's name, right? So the tongue, in fact, is the most important, element here, because we have to pronounce the names of Krishna using our tongue. That's why, in fact, it's very important that we purify our tongue by purifying our diet. If somebody recalls from the 3rd chapter, right, what was the verse in 3rd chapter? If you recall, when Krishna says the importance of offering food to him, why is it important?
He says that those who do eat the food without offering it, they're basically eating sin.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. You remember that verse. That's excellent. Yes, he says that, that if we are eating food just for our own enjoyment, then we're eating sin. But if we offer to him first, then that food becomes a blessed food, a sanctified food, or prasadam we call, right? So this is very important that we engage our senses, in such a manner so that we can gradually purify them and advance in Krishna consciousness or bhakti yoga. So regulated principles means to start chanting, offering food. Anybody else?
Praying to him every day.
Yes, praying to him every day, worshiping him every day, right? Worshiping him, praying to him, all of these things are regulated principles of bhakti yoga. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, and another important thing, in fact, is anybody can say what are the 4 regulative principles one has to follow, when you're chanting? Anybody knows? Krish?
Yes. So so most importantly, your mind, when you're chanting, your mind shall not be diverted into something else. Like if you're chanting and then your brother calls you that, hey, we can go out to play.
Right.
So then you shall not respond to him. You shall keep on chanting.
Well, yeah,
Like
that
that.
definitely, that is focusing, while you're chanting. Very well said that. Thank you. And Krish, Gangotri, you want to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji. It's that we have to chant it loud and clear, at least loud enough so that we can hear it.
Exactly. Yes. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay. Gangotri, you want to recite this verse?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mm-hmm.
अभ्यासेऽप्य समर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थम् अपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage.
So this is further a step down in the ladder. Okay, Lord Krishna is saying here that if the Bhakti Yoga is difficult for you, or you don't have, you don't have interest in it, the next step is that, you can try this, work for Krishna. Okay, right? So work for Krishna basically means that, you engage your senses, your body and senses to work for him. As for example, this person is fixing something in a temple, right? So that is also, in fact, gradually after doing that, he'll develop taste for bhakti yoga. So this is a further step down. So he's giving alternatives here. Okay. Yat karoshi, yat ashnashi, yat juhosi, dadasi, yat Yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat purushamad arpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. Okay. So this is in fact like Rakesh Singh, whatever you're doing, like, just do as an offering unto him. And gradually, if you do that, you'll develop taste for performing Bhakti Yoga, for performing the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga. Because many of us, like, we are not in this stage yet, okay? Because our mind and intelligence is not always fixed in Krishna, right? Sometimes we get distracted, some we have other things to do, and we may not think of Krishna, like, so this is in fact a perfectional stage, right? 12.8. That's a perfectional stage where mind and intelligence both are always in Krishna, like, So here you see, like, Krishna has his friends playing with him, like, so they, in fact, when you are in a perfectional stage, you can interact with Krishna, and that is a perfectional stage. And we may not be in that stage right now. So in fact, Lord Krishna is giving us alternatives to how we could bring ourselves to that stage, okay, slowly.
So I just got a doubt about this topic.
Yeah.
So we have learned like if we cannot reach till Bhakti Yoga or we don't have the patience, we can like worship him by praying, like chanting his holy name like that. So why did he said that you can even work for me? Then why did he like why didn't he make us his servants or like his workers?
The last part I didn't understand. Can you repeat the last sentence you
Okay.
said?
Okay.
Why?
In simple ways, I was just asking that if
Mhm.
Krishna wanted to work us to work for him,
Mhm.
then why didn't he make us like his servants or kind of workers near him?
Oh, yeah. So basically, what he's saying here is that just in case we don't have a taste for chanting his names, okay, we do not have taste for performing bhakti yoga yet, okay, then he's saying that, okay, no worries. What you can do is that you can work for him in a sense that you could work for him basically means that you can work, as for example, you can take some fruits, like, to the temple. You can offer, let's say you're working, let's say you're earning money, you can offer some money to the temple, like, you can just like, there are different ways you can, like, gradually come to a platform where you can develop taste for bhakti yoga, like, so there are many ways you can approach him, like, so not necessarily everybody has a taste for bhakti yoga, right? Everybody, in fact, all of us are different and may not have taste for it. So gradually we can progress regardless of whatever we do. Lord Krishna is saying that, nothing is lost, like, if we can, we can either work for him. And in this verse 12.11, he's saying that we can offer results, like, let's say we don't want to work for him, okay, we said we are too busy to work for you, we don't have time for you, like, or we don't want to work, like, then what you can do is that, okay, you're working somewhere else. Let's say like somebody has a full-time job or somebody is doing something else, like, you can just offer him the results of that. As for example, let's say I'm making 100 rupees, like, in my day's work. Okay, I'll give 10 rupees to Krishna. Okay, 10 Krishna, this is for your service. Okay, so I'm not working directly for Krishna here, but I'm offering the results of my work for the day, right? So that is another way. That is the, in fact, the lower stage, further lower stage, like, so, Lassa, do you want to recite this verse here?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mhm.
अतैतद् अपि आसक्तोऽसि कर्तुम् मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यतात्मवान्. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated.
So this consciousness means this one here, like, so working for Krishna directly, like, or this one here, where we are doing different activities of bhakti yoga, like chanting, like, doing kirtan, offering food to him, like, before eating. So these are, if we are not unable to do all these things, then he's saying that we can do this. So give up all the results of your work. So what will happen is, and again, this was mentioned earlier, like, remember that verse there. Can you do that 2.51? Let's say you have the Bhagavad Gita handy. Karmajam buddhi yuktahi phalam tyaktva manishinaha. The same verse. This meaning, in fact, both verses are interrelated. 2.51 and this verse. So if you can open up that verse and recite that verse and recite the meaning as well, that'll be great. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll sing it. 1 minute. I need it. Yeah. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manisinah janma bandha vinirmukta padam gacchantanamayam.
Very
The
nice.
wise engaged in devotional service take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries.
Right. Now, in the 3rd chapter, which is Karma Yoga, and the 5th chapter, which is also Karma Yoga, Lord Krishna has said that many times, that when we renounce the results of our work, then we become peaceful, And then he also mentions that people who are unable to renounce their results of their work, they are miserly. Like, anybody can raise hand here. Can you say that why it is miserly not to renounce results of our work? Yes, Gangotri.
Because we are trying to save what we have earned in this material world, like even though it's not going to be of our use once we die, after our death.
Very well said. Yes, that is true. Anybody else wants to share your reflection, realization on this? That remember, one of the verses was that we are thief. Krishna says that, like, if we don't offer results of our activities to the devatas and to him, like, so who is the Yajna Purusha? Who all the sacrifices we do in this world, like, even if we do sacrifice to a devata or demigod, they ultimately go to Vishnu, right? Because he is the Yajna Purush, right? So this is what he's saying, that somebody who, like, who is not offering the results, like, in the form of sacrifice, like, is essentially a thief. Like, as for example, like, do we pay, like, a fee to sun god for giving us sunlight?
No.
No, we don't, right? We are breathing air. Do we, like, pay any fee, like, to the deity of air, like, the wind god, like, or Vayu Devata? Do we pay him any fee at all?
No.
We do not, right? So we have different facilities, like, be given by, like, the nature, material nature, and the demigods, devatas, like, but we are not paying them any fee, like, So actually, if you don't do that, you become a thief, right? As for example, you have something I want to use, like, if I use it without asking your permission, like, then I'll become a thief, right? So in the same way, Lord Krishna is saying that when we perform a sacrifice, and what is the sacrifice here? Sacrifice is giving up the results. Try to understand this concept very nicely, that what is the sacrifice? Sacrifice is, we are sacrificing something, right? So we are sacrificing the results of our work, and that is the sacrifice, okay? So according to Madhavacharya, in this verse, Lord Krishna shows that for his devotees, there are no obstacles and impediments in their way at all, by demonstrating the alternatives. It means, what he means is that, Lord Krishna gives us many ways we can approach him, like, so if we can't do bhakti yoga, we can at least do regulative principles of bhakti yoga. If we can't do that, we can work for him. If we can't work for him, then he says that, at least give up your results, So with a controlled mind, renounce the results of one's actions and not desire for rewards for what one does. This infers not hankering for results of performing obligatory rites, like fasting from all grains on Ekadashi, which is the 11th day of the waxing and waning. So today is Ekadashi, right? Anybody is observing Ekadashi here? Raise your hand if you're observing Ekadashi today. So Ekadashi is 11th day of waxing or waning moon. Like it comes twice every month. Like, you fast from grains and beans. Okay. And then he's saying, or the performance of occasional rites such as celebrating festival days of the Supreme Lord. Like recently there was Janmashtami, Radhashtami, So a lot of people, in fact, they celebrate the festival with a lot of pomp and splendor, a lot of festivity. That is, in a way, you are performing, you're approaching devotional service. The purpose is to perform all one's activities without desiring any rewards for the actions. By doing this, the mind becomes pure because it is not contaminated by fruitive desires. Okay. So can somebody remember, I guess we didn't cover that. I don't remember reciting this verse from 3rd chapter. But does somebody remember that in 3rd chapter, if you have read it, Arjun asked this question, that, what is that question? Just a second. I'm going to share that with you momentarily, okay? It'll be a new share. Okay, just a second. And okay. In 3rd chapter, Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajogun Samudbhava, Mahashano, Mahapapma. Yes, here. Okay, so this is one verse, if I want to kind of bring up here. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Okay, so we discussed this topic before, that what is lust? Can somebody raise hand and describe what is lust? Can you want to try that, somebody? How do we define lust? So lust is
Desire.
well, lust is, yeah, you're right. Lust is a desire, lust is a desire where, we are, we are too much attached to the results of our action, right? Or our activities. That's lust. That's the definition of lust, right? Where we want everything for ourselves, extreme degree of selfishness, So when we give up results of our activities, we immediately become peaceful. Okay. The next verse is 12.12, where Lord Krishna says that if you can't even do that, if you can't give the results of your activities, then at least you can try to develop knowledge, cultivate knowledge. And better than knowledge, always is meditation or dhyan. And better than dhyan or meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. And then in next section, I guess we are past 10 o'clock. I'll take maybe another 5 minutes. Is that okay with everyone? Just 5 more minutes, okay? And we'll try to finish this.
Yes, all
Yeah.
right.
So in next section, Lord Krishna says that what is very dear to him, like, what makes somebody very dear to him. So in this verse, he's saying, he for whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anxiety, who is steady in happiness and distress, is very dear to me. And the next verse he says, one who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contamination, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and engaged in devotional service is very dear to me. In this verse, can somebody raise hand and say, what does he mean by being silent? Does he mean that we shouldn't speak at all?
No, I mean, we shall speak whenever we need to speak. Don't speak unnecessarily.
That is one meaning, definitely. Silent also means that whenever we speak, we only speak of Krishna, like, Now that stage is possible only when we are in a pure stage, right? In bhakti, like, in that when we are connected with Krishna completely, like in yoga, like in bhakti yoga, only then that stage is possible. So in silent means that you speak only of Krishna, nothing else, like, and that person, he says, is very dear to him. He who follows this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engages himself with faith, making me the supreme goal, is very, very dear to me. So faith, right? All right, so we'll stop here, okay? Anybody has any questions, comments? And then what we'll do is that we will commence with other slides. In fact, I couldn't show because of the time factor. We'll cover, and those slides will show us that what happens to us when we take up this process of bhakti yoga. What kind of change we should expect in ourselves, like, and how do we know that we are progressing in this path of yoga? Because there has to be some sort of assessment, right? Or self-assessment. Like, as for example, we go to school, we get assessments, we have exams, we have tests, right? In the same way, there are methods we can apply, where we can find out how we are progressing in bhakti yoga. We'll discuss that tomorrow, okay? Anybody any questions or comments before we disperse? All right, looks like Sri Lakshmi, you have shared the attendance key already, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you so much for attending this session, and we'll see you tomorrow then, okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Good night.
Krishna. Good night. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Good night.
Good night. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Bye-bye.